Yo, yo, it's the deal, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All is well. All is wonderful. I never get tired of looking at that intro.
No doubt, no doubt, no
Never
doubt.
get
Shout
tired of
out to everybody involved in that. You know what I'm saying? Queen Abita, Queen Beats for
Queen
making
Beats
it
in the
happen.
building.
Angel Lopez, all our peoples. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all. No doubt.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. How you feeling this distinguished evening?
Yo, everything is cool, man. Everything is blessed, man. You know, it's like but spending a lot of time teaching. You know, a lot of time connecting with students, just sharing, and just being in that bag, man, being in that bag of learning and sharing and teaching, growing, which makes me always excited to get back to my craft also, you know what I'm saying? And just keep shedding, keep getting sharper. Yeah, as always, man, there's a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of moving parts, you know what I'm saying? And just trying to keep the mind at ease, you know.
Yeah,
How
bro.
about you? What's going on in your world, bro?
Similarly, bro, just keeping it creative in all things I do, whether that's the approach to lifestyle or the classroom or sitting down with a beat machine. I'm always inspired by the creative pursuit
Mm.
and how to interweave creativity into every facet of my life. I've been spending we always talk about it, but I've been spending a lot of time on my mindset
Mm.
and meditating every day. I think I've been meditating consistently since like 2018, 2019 now,
Yeah.
but just like as a part of my ritual, and every couple of weeks, every couple of months, I'll fall off,
Right, right,
and
right,
then you
right.
gotta like get back on. But yeah, bro, just trying to stay locked into my rituals
Yes, sir.
and constantly trying to constantly removing barriers and obstacles and coats I've put on by way of just like being in a world of just trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Out
It's
for
not,
sure.
it's not even like reprogramming yourself as much as like just cleaning shop from beliefs
Right,
that
right, right,
don't represent the essence of really what you are, where you trying to go. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So
right.
that's been a vibe, bro. And shit, just staying on top of what we got going on. You dig? And that's
That's
it,
about
bro.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, man. Nah, it's real interesting, man. I was having a conversation with my students yesterday, and we were talking about. I did a class basically, and I teach this class. It's professional preparedness for music careers, and where we talk about everything. I started the class by helping them deal with their personas, promoting themselves, promoting their personas, how they get paid. Now we're dealing with like elements of performance in terms of like dealing with a budget, a runner show, a tech rider. We did an exercise yesterday that was focused on the budget and having them focus on like, yo, you getting this much bread to do a show. Here are all the people you got to bust this down with, and still try to take something home for yourself and reinvest in your company, your operation. And of course, I get that from the work that we do all the
Mhm.
time, gigs and business that we're doing. And as we were talking before, we got on like we've been doing a lot of work in figuring out how to streamline our operation, over the years. Like, I think what's been beautiful and challenging with how Soul Science moves is, we got really big productions, big ideas, a lot of music, a lot of people, a lot of technology, multimedia. We got cats creating videos and all kinds of things when you see us pull up, but that's expensive.
Mm.
In this economy, it's like, all right, not that we don't want to include our brothers and sisters in the process, because it is also a blessing to share, you know, um, all that we've been given with others. Also, it's like it's important for us to take care of home so this thing can keep going. So I know we've been talking a lot about technology and how we can use technology to still present what we do with integrity, and have a less of a footprint, be more nimble, and I think just in general, we've been thinking about and executing using technology in certain ways to, definitely like streamline our workflow. I know me and you got into AI a lot the last couple of years as it's been, making its way into our society and figuring out how do we leverage technology in this economy to make sure we are still able to share our voices and our perspectives and also prosper, as the OG said, feast in the midst of famine. You know what I mean? So yeah, bro, just been on that's been on the mind. I know you've been digging in AI world a lot.
Yeah, well, first I just wanted to say I think that's really dope. How you're preparing the next generation of artists in a very intentional, realistic way. So it's like kudos to you.
Appreciate that.
For being mindful, for sharing your insights, your lived experience, and even, maybe being mindful of the things you still want to master and want to manifest, and then, kind of like creating curriculum out of that. Another conversation that was happening on social media was just about like Black men in education and Black men going to college and the lack of Black men in education in college. And I think it's a lot of reasons. It's always a lot of reasons for everything. Things are never, whiter. Things are never ones or zeros. Things are never binary, right? There's a huge, chasm of nuance. But any conversation we have about anything pertaining to Black life in America, if we don't include systemic factors and forces, we're having an incomplete conversation.
Let's talk about it.
We're not even like, it's like, what are we talking about? Because what you do, whether it's looking at something like Black men not going to college, or even on the other hand, there could be statistics related to Black women that are less than flattering. If like one of the statistics I've seen floating around, which I didn't know because I don't go looking for stuff like this, but I've seen statistics like, Black women are the least married, right? So, and there's some people who use that statistic, they weaponize that statistic to denigrate women, talk badly about women, right? But if you understand context and you understand colonialism and you understand slavery and you understand how the family has been destroyed and all of these other things, it's a lot more nuance and complexity other than just blaming somebody for, well, why can't you perform and meet these metrics? And so I kind of feel the same way about the college situation. But long story short, we're both Black men who work in education. Man. I know something I encounter a lot is I'm predominantly in environments where it's a bunch of women, bunch of Black women, right? Bunch of women. And I'm like the only man there. So it's like, dang, it's like you gotta represent. You gotta like sometimes it's like it's pressure because they want you to be security guard. And it's kind of like your value is reduced to just being like a bouncer, like, keep these kids in place, be disciplinarian. It's like I don't want to be associated with just keeping Black boys or Black kids, and like I can do that, but I mean that's violent. That's what be happening on the outside.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's heavy. That's heavy.
So I've been thinking about that a lot, and I'm just like, I'm kind of even breaking out of that mode. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna be y'all watchdog and y'all form of I'm not here. I'm not only here to be a bouncer. I have a plethora of sensitivities and ideas that we should be in the environment to bestow to the kids, not just order. Because of course, daddy's in the home. It's different. We all know daddy in a home, you moving different. Okay. But also, daddy shouldn't just be a form of discipline and he's emotionally dead. or he's, you know what I'm saying?
That's yeah, bro. Because we all know how much trauma exists because of that. You know what I'm saying? Because of that tradition, that trope in our community. You know,
Right.
just period. You know that this is the role that a man plays that doesn't give a man the opportunity to display intimacy and emotion. You know,
Right.
with his loved ones. You know, so yeah, man. Now that's challenging, bro. You know, that's a big deal, man. And I mean, education, bro. It's I'm in environments right now where there aren't a lot of black men. There aren't a lot of black people
Right.
teaching black kids.
Right.
And so it, you know, where they want you to be disciplinarian, they want me to be translator. They want me to
Mm,
be mitigator. They want me to
mm,
be like you know, the related, the go-between, the bridge.
mhm.
Um, sometimes it's said spoken and most times it's unspoken. And what I see is that whether or not I want to do it and exist in that capacity, I find myself having to be a buffer for our kids, man, having to help them, having to help them negotiate or just make sense of the world they find themselves in, you know, and many of them aren't even, you know, they're not from here. They're coming from other places and they've never been in higher education or any of these environments. And so they like, you know, yo, what is this? What's going on? Why is this happening? And you know, I find myself having to like help them understand what this is and how to move through it. And also, you know, on the other hand, you know what I'm saying, helping other people understand why it's so important to have instructors that look like them, to have people who understand their sensibilities and their culture and you know can really help them thrive in an environment um that rarely reflects who they are. And so
Right.
interesting, bro, you know, being an educator, and we've been doing this for a long time, you know, and finding ourselves in these spaces and roles. um and it's very rewarding, but like you saying, bro, it's really challenging because you're like, hold up, I have so much more to give than this kind of box I'm being pigeonholed in because of the either the resources or the vision or the personnel that this institution may lack. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
And
you know,
and I think that's kind of, you know, where I'm trying to go, and what I'm trying to say is like uh it's not a perfect correlation, but I brought up the thing with the sisters to say, I've heard them say we're acting as if the Western kind of conception of like relationships is perfect to begin with.
right,
In the same way, we're acting as if college, Western education is perfect to begin with for us to be
bro,
talking about trying to like fit into this box. And I little
yeah,
sidebar, I started I don't know what got me thinking about it. Well, I'm always trying to help our people think differently about progress, because
yeah.
we have a strained relationship with evolving.
That's
We do. And
interesting. That's a
yeah,
that's
and I
good.
never thought about it like that until now, because at first I would say we have a strained relationship with money or this. No, we have a strained relationship with just evolving, bro, just growing.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I think anything that reflects growth, it comes with this just complexity of like self-doubt,
Yep,
criticism, um, comparing it to whiteness,
of course.
feeling like we're leaving behind, you know, even a conversation we're having like with about Zulu, not to go
Mm.
super deep, but um I'm African centered. I've been to South Africa.
Right, right.
I'm steeped in my culture in New Orleans, and I think right is right and wrong is wrong.
Mm.
And I think on some level, when you eat pork, when you eat pork intestines to survive, at
Mm.
first it's a mercy. At first it's like this is despicable, but I'm gonna do it to survive, and I'm gonna season it. It's gonna be ill. It's like we gonna do something. But then at some point, you can actually go to a grocery store,
Right.
or you can grow other foods, and you have other options.
Yeah.
But you may be so locked into what you innovated out of your trauma that when you get an opportunity to grow, you don't do it because maybe you don't have an identity other than the one you've created out of being another man's lapdog.
Wow.
So
wow. I mean, bro, that's what do they call that? Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
So
Stockholm syndrome.
So yeah, so it's like I see it with a lot of I just see it with a lot of things, bro. It's like, yo, we got to constantly be making, but to me, that's the power like Sankofa too. Like,
yeah.
Looking, you know, anytime I talk to you and we had these conversations, bro, you're my, you know, you're the homie, you're the business partner, but you're also like, you know, you remind me of RMT. You remind me of everything we've created.
Mm-hmm.
So RMT was about what was happening 100 years ago. Renaissance, you know, people back to Africa, WEB, and Black Men in Education. There are no Black Men in Education. Well, WEB Du Bois, Booker T, Marcus Garvey.
Let's go.
Wayne Locke, right? So we know that the pioneers, the architects, of progressive education have been these mighty Black men and women, but it was Black men who were, because of the social construct, it was Black men who were laying down foundations, like building pyramids, coming out of Reconstruction, Jim Crow, slavery. So this notion of like, there are no Black men in higher education, I'm like, well, that's by design.
Let's talk about it.
That's by design. And you know, I was thinking about well, the reason I say what I said about progress is I'm encountering so many people. I'm talking to them about AI, and it's fear.
Yeah,
it's fear. I had somebody told me like, "Yo, these are spirits. You got to be careful of the spirits. It's gonna steal your spirit." And I was like, "Man, it sounds like how when some people." It's like when certain indigenous people saw like, I don't know, guns for the first time, or like
for sure
first time, which I get it.
No doubt.
But I'm like, at some point we have to be proactive and intentional about what we create. And my whole thing is like, I'm gonna just make this a thing. I'm gonna really try to understand language of like binary code.
Yeah.
Computational thinking and how that derives from African divination systems.
Yep.
Because to me, that's the only jewel I need to know. All of this shit is for me.
Yeah, it comes from you.
Yeah. Like if I can articulate that and understand that and do the timeline of that, there's no reason why Black babies aren't supposed to be like, bro, I've been teaching AI, which because they don't tell me what the fuck to do, bro. I just show them
right.
You know, I work at 2 schools. One I teach music, the other is like it's more STEM. And when I show up, they don't be telling me what the fuck to do. And I could bullshit, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not educated in STEM, but I still take my opportunity to be in front of a young audience very serious.
Course.
I don't play with that. So me and ChatGPT, we be hooking it up and
working together.
Printouts, cartoons, keywords, activities, and I go in there and I smash out, and people think I went to school for STEM, but I was like, yo, I saw that article where it was like, yo, the Chinese kid, 6 years old, AI.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm like, okay, we gotta.
Of course, we got.
No longer am I in a space where I should be debating with niggas about the validity. I gotta just get active with the babies.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be you have to be a master of your universe. You got to be a master of your universe. Yo, anybody that believes in Christ, anybody that's a Christian, right? I believe in the Christ consciousness. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in a Christian church, but I don't consider myself to be a Christian, but I do resonate with the teachings of Christ and the example of, you know, the being of the person that we call Christ, right?
Right.
Thing that resonates with me about Christ and the Christ consciousness is that the Christ consciousness is about being a master of your universe. Is about being able to master the elements that exist in the space in which you are, in which you live. And so it's difficult in a like it is difficult in a capitalist society not to be a master or understand money and economics. You'll fail. And that's also a thing of like something that we deal with as Black folks. It's like, yeah, this capitalist economy was built off of literally our blood, sweat, tears, our back. Like this shit exists because of us, not in spite of us. Like we are the reason for it. So for us to participate in it is difficult and sometimes counterintuitive. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, it's like, this is the space that we're in. And I'm not saying that you're trying to be a gluttonous capitalist, but you need to be a master of your universe and the things that exist in it. As who said it? I forget it. I think it was Michael Franti or somebody. Somebody has a quote that says, every tool is a weapon if you're holding it right. Right? Every tool is a weapon if you're holding it right. And so, yeah, I understand that we have issues with money. We have issues with technology. You know what I'm saying? And being able to use those things to forward our existence and our progress. And I would offer and encourage and invite people to be masters of their universe and to understand that, like, these are nothing more than tools. Money's a tool. Technology is a tool. Hip hop's a tool. Culture is a tool. What you put into that particular tool and how you use it, that's what becomes influential. Yeah, AI, yeah, it's the spirit of AI as it exists. I mean, look who's creating it, look who's programming it, look who's training it. Yeah, they got some wild spirits. So I agree, which means that we have to now we got to give it, we also have to give it another identity and alternative and begin to train it, just like we said in RMT. Like AI, artificial intelligence, for us it's ancestral intelligence. Right. You know, the zeros and ones, like you said, the binary that comes from African divination. And so, you start building on technology in that way and understanding, like, wait, I am still the basis and architect of this technology, and whatever I put into it is the spirit is going to bring into the world. And yeah, right now, so many of these weapons or tools are in the hands of people who have no moral compass, no morals, period, no spiritual guidance. And so when you look at these things, you see them, you're like, all money's evil. It's like, nah, maybe there are people who control money that have ill intent, but money is a resource. Money is a currency. Right. Technology is a resource as well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro, I feel you. And I pray that we as a people, especially in this climate in the world right now, really embrace that concept of becoming masters of our universe and mastering this universe to leverage it for our best interest, our survival, our, not even our ability to thrive and prosper. Because inevitably, bro, just by the nature of who we are, what we do, how we live, how we give it up, when we thrive and we prosper, everyone does. Now, everybody doesn't believe that. People are threatened by us prospering because they just don't like to see us swagging because they just know we ill like that. But whenever we glow up, everybody glows up. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? We need to really focus on us glowing up. And don't worry about everybody else, because just as a byproduct, they gonna glow up just because they basking in the light of the sun.
That's a reality, bro. That's a fact, man. And it's possible. It's more than possible. Like, speaking of being a master of the universe, I think one of the things you do when you are a master of the universe, you understand the cycles of time. You understand rhythm, frequency.
Yep.
You also, given the cycles of life and death, you understand, if you're lucky, you will reach a winter time. If you're lucky, if you're blessed. I know a lot of people like look at old age and they're scared of it.
Right.
because culturally we're taught to venerate youth and
Right.
the
Right.
carelessness of youth.
Hmm.
But you're lucky and blessed if you can see a winter time in your life. If you can get through, summer, autumn, get to a winter, that means you've lived 4 seasons. You've
Right.
lived through every season. And I think when I look at antiquity, when I look at the masters,
Mm.
they leave themselves reminders for when they get dementia.
Mm.
They leave themselves reminders for when they get forgetful.
Mm.
And
Mm.
to me,
Mm.
that's the point of the art. The art is to serve as an artifact. How many times have you found an old notebook or old songs, and it will be a code for something you're dealing with in the moment?
Yeah, bro.
It's
Yes, sir.
quantum. You like, God damn, I need to,
Yep.
damn, what was I on when I wrote this? Because
Right.
I need to read this right now.
Right now.
So to
Yep.
me, when we're dealing with the ancient codes that are resurfacing via technology, we're
Right.
dealing with ancient notes we left ourselves. Could
Mm.
it be that you and I are so ill?
Mm.
We wrote ourselves a love note and a manual hundreds of thousands of years ago, and we understood the nature of a quantum universe to such an extent that we knew it would resurface digitally
Right.
in the mechanisms of the time in which our future self would need that reminder.
Bruh.
That's some Black to the Future shit.
That's ancestral intelligence.
That's AI, the real
That's
AI.
the real AI, bro. That's the real AI. It is. You know what I'm
That's the
saying?
real AI. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm choosing to see what's happening, and then looking at it from that perspective, it's just love.
Yeah.
It's love across timelines,
Yeah.
which is God. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, but I also
Yeah.
wanted to say too, you was talking about like trying to retain more bank as a band. And when you
Yep.
were talking, it made me think about the transition from big bands to small combos,
Mm.
which happened, like the 30s and the 40s. So the big bands were like in the 20s
Yeah.
because
Right. Right. Right.
the bread was there. It was just, Duke
Renaissance.
Ellington, Count Basie, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the money tightened up, the economy tightened up, people had to, you couldn't take 30 and 40 people on a road anymore.
Right.
It got down to 10 people, and then
Right.
6 people, and then trios, quintets, quartets, and sextets.
Right.
But that economic restraint became the impetus
Yeah.
for a revolutionary new genre
Yep.
of jazz.
Yep.
So I think in the same way, we always just have to be like embracing the opportunity for
Yeah.
the next radical, fresh, dope iteration. Because even as you were talking, like, damn, you and I, a couple of our principles, and then just like automation and computers with our visuals, that's some, we're thinking about the money, but at the same time, that sounds like some Afro-futuristic
Yeah.
level shit that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that sounds dope.
Yeah.
It sounds like an opportunity space as opposed to a restraint.
It definitely does. I mean, and what it ultimately does too, which I think is the goal, is it allows us to touch more people. It allows
Right.
us to like get to more places and be more nimble and share this gift, man, because that's, I was listening to Les Brown today, and his whole, he's talking about just like sharing your gift and being able to share it with as many people as you can, you know what I'm saying, dying empty. And this gives us another opportunity to scale our work and to scale the experiences that we give people, even in person, because there's just, it's easier for us to move around and get to places. So I'm excited to explore that, man, and to tap into the technology that can help us make that real, the technology that can help us, get into that space, man. And it's crazy, man. It's like for us, this whole tech conversation of AI, of algorithms, of data, all these things, and even us incorporating technology into our work, for us, it's nothing new. You know what I mean? I think,
Right.
I think period, just for Black folks too, especially creatives like in the arts. When you think about, jazz is a technological innovation on pre-existing technology. Something that existed, but cats are like, yo, we about to flip this. Hip hop was the same thing. Like there were these machines that existed, and people, cats came through like, yeah, this is cool, but you know what? I'm about to do this with it, and it's created a multi-billion-dollar industry that is taking the world by storm. And I think that's in our nature to innovate, and to push things forward and to figure out how to, how to express culture, but also how to distribute culture, how to maintain culture, and how to share culture. We figure out all kinds of interesting ways to make that happen as the world evolves, and I think we're in that moment right now. And the more with each passing day, I'm like, yo, we got to get this stuff to the people. Like this stuff we've created, this music, this energy, these ideas, we have to get it to them. And, it means us implementing technology to help us spread the word more easily and streamlining our process. So it's exciting, bro. It's exciting. Like you said, you think about the money, but then the limitation creates this dope innovation that puts you in a better space. And that's where we headed.
Right. I love that. Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk to no end about stuff, and as you've said, as soul scientists, we've always used technology in our practices. So maybe we can share some clips from Code Society, which was specifically pointed at highlighting computational thinking, computer science, and innovation from a hip hop, a youth-centric perspective, and kind of show some of those assets.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people may not, some people were around and they were supporters, but a lot of people may not even know we were on the cutting edge of bringing that information to young people in 2018, 2019.
Yeah, man. Shoot, earlier than that, 2017, we started. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, bro, totally, man. I think that was for you and I think our foray into just thinking with technology was Soundtrack 63, when we started putting multimedia and screens behind our music. Like, how does this look? And then we start digging deeper of like, okay, what does all of this really mean? What's behind the screen as you abstract this? How deep can we go, and how can we use even more technology to further what we do? So yeah, Code Society, bro. Shout out to our Code Society brothers, who we built a lot of this with, that even gave us this mindset. And this joint, man, I think I'm gonna jump into this clip from one of our Decipher sessions when we were just breaking down the concept of an algorithm. So let's get into it. Let's see where we at with it. This one right here, right? Yeah.
Yo, Chen, you notice how IG switched their algorithm?
Yo, I've been seeing that, man. My posts aren't getting seen as much. It's kind of crazy.
Wait a minute. Yo, something's going on, bro. Like, I just uploaded a new beat to my timeline. Like, yo, I know it's Fuego. I know it's fire.
No doubt.
Joint got like 2.5 likes, bro. Yo, I think people are hating on me.
Bruh, sometimes IG changes the algorithm.
Yeah, they do.
Yo, what the algorithm got to do with that? Decipher.
Hey. Right,
let's get it.
It's like recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round it, go round it. Hey, round it. Look, I still can't do that dance. I need to learn it.
Me too.
The real question is, how many of y'all can do the dance?
That's the real question.
Let us know.
But anyway, I'm Chennis Pettigrew at Chenlo.
I'm Asante.
I'm John Robinson.
And we're Code Society. And Code Society uses original hip-hop music, videos, and engaging activities to teach computer science concepts.
It is.
Everywhere we go, we hear algorithm this and algorithm that. What's an algorithm?
So an algorithm is a step-by-step process to solve a problem, or rules to follow to solve a problem.
I love it. So that's the formal definition, but everyday examples of algorithms consist of things like using your GPS,
True.
a recipe to cook something, or that latest viral dance.
No
You
doubt.
know the vibes. You know the
What's,
vibes.
what's so dope is we created our own viral dance.
Oh, shout out to Moni G.
Yeah, no doubt. The algorithm dance, we appreciate it.
Yeah, bro. You know what I'm saying? Take you back.
Just to reiterate, what exactly was that? So we had, you know, we had a company, like you said, shout out to John Robinson, Angel Lopez,
Armando mostly, yeah, bro. All our people. So yeah, man. I mean, we in 2017, we got the opportunity to work with this incubator, New Inc., which was connected to the New Museum here in New York City. And the idea was we could incubate something that connected art and technology. And we built this company during our time there. So, 3 years in, we raised money, we had mentors, we built curriculum, we built all of this content, created all of this content specifically around computational thinking for young people. We said, how can we use hip hop and the power of hip hop culture, music, etc., to begin to distribute information and engage younger populations, young people of color specifically, around computational thinking and computer science, and really more like computational thinking and systems thinking, because, I think that is being able to think computationally is just related to problem solving, man, at the highest level. And so, yeah, that's what we did, bro.
That's super dope. So I'm going to ask you a question I know the answer to, but I want you to elaborate for the people out there.
Yeah.
We're in 2025.
Man.
People may not remember or know, because education has trends.
Yeah.
And when education develops a trend, whether it's in language or an initiative, everything has to be around that. All the money goes to that.
Right.
2015, 2016, 2017. The big talk it's crazy to think about now. The big talk was coding. Teach your kids coding. Everybody, you got to learn coding or you won't be able to survive in the future. If you don't learn coding, you won't be able to get a job. Coding, right? Yeah. So we went and did some work with Google because they were having issues with prejudice and bias in the area of coding, but more specifically AI chat boxes at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Something we had no experience about. And it was a OG of ours said, who you going to meet with tomorrow, Mark?
Yeah.
It was like, nah, forget coding, computational thinking, computer systems thinking. So can you just speak to the brilliance of the pivot from focusing specifically on coding, which was the popular thing at the time, to adopting computational thinking, which is, like you said, systems thinking, and why that's so important?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy to think about it, man. And I don't know how appropriate this metaphor is, but I'm gonna use it because it applies. So you think about a football team, and you think about the players. You got players, right, on one level. You got coaches on another level, and you got owners on another level, right? And so when you think about coding languages, you think about computational thinking and computer science. So to me, the players are kind of like the players are the chips and the things in the computer that you're getting to move, and you're kind of manipulating to, what you want to do in order to achieve your goal. The coaches are the ones that are coding or like creating some of the strategy for the players on the field to do the things that they want them to do. But the owners are architecting the environment. They're architecting the entire system in which all of them operate to basically prepare them for success, set them up for success. And without the owners having a 30,000 foot view, and being able to systems think and create an entire ecosystem around players and coaches and resources, right? And understand how those things fit together, then the coaches can't do what they do and the players won't be able to do what they do. And so when you compare that to, coding, you know what I'm saying? Coding is like, yeah, the coders are coaching the computer to, let's do this, let's execute this to make it happen. But the owners are architecting the entire ecosystem, like the mindset, the framework, the approach that is going to be taken to even move this technology in. And so think about it on that level, like to be a coder is cool, but to be a systems architect is what Mark put us on to. That's a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you are
it's like ownership. It's like
exactly
ownership versus
man.
Labor just being an employee,
being a worker. Yeah, bro. Exactly. And so that was the gem he gave us, because the issue is everybody's talking about coding, but when you really get down to coding, you start understanding some of the nuances in the landscape. And by no means, do I purport to be an expert. But we understand some things about computer science, but there are many computer science languages. There are lots of them. There are some that, are used more frequently than others across a lot of different platforms in a lot of ways. But to be really dope and to be ill, you got to know multiple languages. So it's like, all right, and new languages are born all the time.
Right.
And that was kind of the thing. It's like, well, what language are you going to be teaching people? Because in 10 years, the language they learn may be obsolete. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
5 years, in 2 years, it might be obsolete. But systems thinking, the way that you build a system in which all those languages will, potentially operate, that's the golden part of it. That's the important part of it. And also that kind of thinking applies to more than just coding. And that was what we were getting at. We were like, how do we get young people to systems think, to solve the problems of the day, to solve the problems they face in their community, to solve the problems they face day to day. And that would also translate into any other discipline they decided to pursue. And so, yeah, man, using because again, like you said, technology we look at technology as a computer or these plastic, things that we interface with all the time, our phones and all this. And it's like, nah, technology is a way of being. Technology is a way of existing and a way of deciphering and decoding the world. And your ability to do that. So,
bro, that's so mind blowing. Shout out to you for dropping that jewel. I mean, we've talked about it before. We founded a company on it, but I needed that reminder in this moment. And there's this young lady I've been looking at on TikTok. She deals with like law of attraction stuff, mindset stuff, but the way she relates everything is through computational thinking. So she's talking about mindset shifts in terms of creating algorithms, vibration and energy being source code that you send to the universe, which then outputs an output for you. Just
wow,
computational thinking, but she's talking from the perspective of like coding a reality, a personal reality. And as you were talking, I'm like, computational thinking is really the mindset technology of the now and the future.
Yeah.
Because it applies to the macro and the micro simultaneously, right? And that's a jewel. And so I need to kind of like re-immerse myself back in our assets, the things we create. Again, I feel like a couple of minutes in this conversation, we just talked about the fact that like, you'll create things, and then the nature of being human is you forget. Like forgetfulness is a part of the human condition. This is why in so many traditions they're like, rituals, do something every day. Like in the Quran, it says the most powerful force is the remembrance of God, right? And if we take that a step further, the most powerful force is the remembrance of yourself.
Yep.
your essence. So it's powerful that we've created things in our life that we could go back to remind us about who we are. You know, like we have our own Sankofa artifacts, whether it be like Plan for Paradise,
Yeah, bro.
and symbols,
Yep. Yep.
RMT,
Yep.
footprints,
Yep.
the Visitor Altar Destiny. Like, yo, we have artifacts that we could go back to.
Yep, for sure.
Like, what is the North Star? You know what I'm saying? So we got to do that from time to time. I mean, yo, before we get out of here, I think we should play the what we talking about? Algorithms?
Algorithms, bro. That algorithm video, man. We got to run that, man. It just made me think, like, man, this conversation, I know I needed it too, because you realize that your rituals are your algorithm, and your algorithm or your ritual yields the results that you experience in your life. And so it's important to examine your ritual. You know what I'm saying? What's your morning routine? What's your evening routine? How are you spending your time? How do you what are you absorbing every day? But what are your rituals? What are the systems and the steps you're taking every day? Because those things are going to yield specific results. And if you don't like the results, like the young lady's talking about, you know, the law of attraction, and, you know, creating systems that attract vibrationally the things that you want, it is all about, you know, creating that algorithm. Like, what's your algorithm? And so in that spirit, you know, we were really trying to break down what an algorithm was for our kids. You know what I mean? So it wasn't this mystical thing that they thought was locked in the computer. And here is the algorithm video. This joint was fire, man. You on a beat, you smashed out on the beat. John Robinson is on this joint, man. Yo, shout out John Robinson. I miss you, brother. Definitely love you, man. But here we go. Algorithm.
Recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round and 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 go. Round and 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 go. Recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round and 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 go. Round and round and round and round and round. You identify the problem, broke it into pieces, saw a couple patterns where they keep repeating. If it was complicated, you made it really basic. Now you need a strategy to keep it circulating. Recipe for success, a blueprint for building, some rules to live by, steps for solutions. Everything is clicking, got you in a rhythm, got you in the zone of your own algorithm. Recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round and 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 go. Round and 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 go.
Let's be clear and well informed with no confusion. Control your flow and know the steps and how you're moving. It's like a strategy you use to solve a problem with, or directions to a place that all you're trying to get. Make sure it's thought out. Logic and reasoning is passed in and brought out. Much more seasoning. You gotta always know your when, where, and your why. Just take your time so you could decide on how to apply.
Recipe, prepare the feast. We all eat. Algorithm, Instagram, hashtag, brand new dance, algorithm, show attraction, GPS, make a left, algorithm, day to day, work and play. Recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round and 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 go. Round and 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 go. Recipe, the formula, ingredients in order to get to the solution and the places that you going to. Round and 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 go. Round and 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 go.
Wow.
Oh man, that's good, bro. That video was great.
Wow. Yeah, man, bro. It's so, man, that it takes you back, but it also, I appreciate even the labor that we know that it was, man. That level of intentionality and intentional energy is gonna resonate forever, man. And I look forward to, you know what I'm saying? I might not even be here when some shorties, you know what I'm saying, in 2050, you know what I mean, come across the algorithm video like, yo, what were these boys on? You know, but it will still be able to like convey gems to them. And just this kind of like way of thinking, which I think is awesome, bro. Wow.
Bro, yeah, that shit was fire, bro. You know what you know what it reminded me of? Like, that shit is a genre. Like, we created a genre with that, but it reminded me of how Nip communicated. I know during that pocket of time we were paying attention to people, you know, hip hop cats and tech, and Nip was one of those people, man. And I've been listening to a lot of Nip. Even when you said Christ consciousness, I thought about unity.
Yeah.
Because essentially, so deep, bro. When you said become the masters of your universe, you're basically talking about somebody who has mastered computational thinking.
Yes.
Right? Jesus mastered computational systems thinking, you can say. That was, you know, the Christ consciousness. And when I look at somebody like Nip, born in the trenches, bro.
Yeah, bro.
But he mastered every stage of his environment, whether it was the trenches, the corner, store, the boardroom, the studio, and he was just elevating. He had Christ thinking. He had an understanding of computational thinking. Nipsey Hussle, who I often say was Jesus reincarnated as a Crip, as a Rolling 60s Crip. Nipsey Hussle, Rolling 60s Crip, first person to do a smart store.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm listening to this song and I'm like, wow, this is that cloth talk.
Yo.
Applicable for computers, but this is about life.
Yeah, it's about life.
And the beats were hidden. Y'all are fresh. You know, the other jewel that came through for me too, bro, is like, man, doesn't matter the date or the time, the gods have a responsibility to assemble and build pyramids.
Yo, always.
That's the responsibility of gods. Like, you're supposed to link up with like minds and make pyramids.
Yeah.
The money, you know, you got to figure it out. But your divine responsibility is to link up with the gods and create artifacts. And then, bro, I'm just looking at that video. We got Basquiat's bottle in the video, bro.
Man, bro. Oh my goodness.
Man, they not around no more.
Man, oh my goodness.
Even Brooklyn at that time doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist, man.
The way we captured it.
It doesn't. That whole corner JR is standing on talking about GPS across the street. It's a whole high-rise luxury apartment building that, like, it's those block slave theater. You're right, bro. It doesn't exist in the same way. And what it makes me think about in terms of systems thinking, computational thinking, and problem solving for Black people.
Come on.
You know, like we were texting back and forth yesterday with the post that came out that just showed all of the Black institutions in Brooklyn that existed, you know, during our tenure since we've been here and before, that are no longer here. And those were nodes in our experience that also created algorithms. They also were part of rituals, that community rituals that were going on, you know, whether that was Basquiat's bottle, that was Brew, that was Greedy Vegan, that was, we could go down the list of all the places, you know what I'm saying, now that are not here and that are disappearing and things are beginning to look different. But for us as people, it's important, it's incumbent upon us, certainly moving forward, that we build community systems, that we dig into our computational thinking bag and build an algorithm of cultural sustainability. algorithm, institutional sustainability. And whatever it is you're doing, you know, I know in saying that I'm speaking to myself, I'm speaking to us, even in our institution and the things that we're building. But it's like, yeah, man, like in order to be here, the reason why we know things about our ancestors, the reason why we even know something like Sankofa, the reason why we even are connected to that is because they created an algorithm. They created symbology, artifacts, things that literally pull you back to connect you to yourself and who you are. And we got to really get on that in order to make sure we always going to be here, no matter what. But we want to be here thriving, right? Having a thriving and prosperous existence. And creating an algorithm that puts us in that space is critical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro. I don't have too much more to add. Like this, you know, I'm motivated. I'm inspired.
Yeah.
Looking at the artifacts we've created, and as you said, to continue to set in motion algorithms of abundance. You know what I'm saying? Algorithms of success, because the universe is that mechanistic machine that just responds to software. That's it.
Yep.
And you know, we are training our mindsets to remember the truth, and the truth is the universe is abundant, and the universe is here to support us. And so any algorithm, any softwares that contradict that are not in alignment with reality. So it's like you got to do the work of debugging,
right? So
that the computer can run, efficiently. You dig? So algorithms of abundance. Donate now. Algorithms of abundance.
You know what I'm saying? You said that. I was like, nah, cats gotta. You gotta.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, bro. But that, to me, that's what time it is, and I really do believe it's a mind. It's as simple as a mindset and an energy shift.
Yep.
Because we didn't get into it too much, but another concept that perfectly intersects into this is just ancestors and spirit. You know what I'm saying? And who's most spiritual in a black? Then who's most spiritual than us, bro?
Yeah.
Who got, I don't want to say who got mightier ancestors than us, because I'll say most people. I don't say everybody, because some people, they got some, don't call your ancestors. Keep your ancestors over there.
Ooh, boy.
Cut off your lineage.
Now more than ever.
Yeah. But most people of the earth, the indigenous people of the earth, have honorable ancestors that they can look to who have done mighty things. Mighty things, who can serve as mighty guidance. So to me, now is a time to we're going forward with this technology, but also on simultaneous. I feel like this is the perspective we're gonna have, because we're not our children.
Right.
I think the other thing I haven't talked about, which I want to be careful about too, is the fact that we do need to unplug and be rooted in nature, because that lets us know how we supposed to use the technology.
No doubt.
And not make it a god. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the technology, what you'll find in being rooted in nature, is that the technology is mimicking nature always. Yeah. Nature is the ultimate technology. And so you'll see that, most people who are building technology are mimicking the brilliance that they see reflected in nature. And they're like, oh, me, today I was in the park watching the birds. And I was like, these birds look like these 747s, these big Boeing planes, Airbuses flying. Like their behavior is exact. And I'm like, wait a minute, okay, yeah, no, the plane stole that. You know what I'm saying? The birds are the originators. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's like, get in nature, because you're gonna see the most divine technology available. Facts. Yeah, bro.
And shoot, on that note, you know what I'm saying? That's an hour exactly. I feel like that's a perfect place to just put a bow on it, stick a pin in it, give it to people, serve it up, you dig? This has been another, episode of the Renaissance Mixtape presented by Soul Science Lab. Follow us on everything. Hit the links.
Yes, sir.
Stream the music. Visit the university, Soul Science University. .com, you dig? We here, man, but we're going into the future using all of the mediums necessary and available to continue broadcasting our energy, our frequency, and documenting our artifacts and our algorithms. So as reminders for ourselves, as reminders to our fellow man, but also as a communication, damn, bro. I was looking at my pops like, bro, one day we're not gonna be here. They just gonna be looking at, they just gonna be finding these broadcasts.
That's right, bro. That's facts. It's facts. It's facts. It's facts. It's facts. Yep. We got to do it all while we here, bro. Get these people all this magic.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. But yo, appreciate you, my brother.
Always, bro.
Appreciate the people, and you know, we'll do it next time again.
Yes, sir. Yo, everybody be well. Peace and love.
Peace.